Maybe you can hear me a little better if I turn that thing on. Let's open our meeting. You should have got a copy of this in your packages. I read through it. I didn't see any complications. Anyone have any corrections or additions, etc.? Yes, Mr. Arnold.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Commissioner Nunner. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Baker. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. It has been done. Well, Warden, I guess we're ready to let you present to us and tell us where you are, how things are going, or whatever.
Good evening.
Push one side of it.
Can you hear me? All right. Good evening, y'all. The latest and greatest for Trousdale Turner. Is this too loud? How's that? Okay. Our current count out at the prison is 2490. Of that, we have 1181 that are minimum, 1244 that's medium, and 65 close. At current, we have about 17 inmates that have tested positive for COVID. But with that, then we have to lock down the areas to where the inmates were housed. And we do quarantining, and we do medical checks and go through all the motions for that. And so it equals out to a little over 600 inmates that are affected in the quarantine. You know, and that's unfortunate, but it's the safety protocols and what we feel like it's best for the staff and the inmates if we err on the side of caution. And so that's kind of where we're at with that piece of it. Programming, we're getting back more and more closer to normal, but of course then I say that on top of what we've got that's quarantined, so that cuts into our numbers where we can program or perform educational services. We are running some, we're looking at how we can do some in-cell programming. We did that at the initial part of the quarantine and the lockdown for the COVID. So we're reverting back to more and more of that, and hopefully we'll get it stabilized, and then we'll look at doing some more in the program building. We did the flu vaccinations last week, and we're starting in, I think yesterday was our first day this week where we were doing some more of our COVID vaccinations, and this for the inmates. We did already have a lot of the inmates that were vaccinated, but now we've gone back and offered it again. So hopefully we'll get some more inmates that'll, more and more inmates that'll participate with it. Let's see, staffing. Right now, we have our medical department is almost completely staffed. I think we have 2 vacancies there. With our correctional officers, we're running with about 100 correctional officer vacancies. And that's high. That's significantly high. We did a job fair out at the prison the first part of October. We did advertising in all the job sites, the different ones that are out there. We have a recruiting department out of the corporate office that was heavily involved. And we had 200 people that signed up to come out to the job fair. So I got out there and fired up the grill, and I cooked hamburgers and I cooked hot dogs, and we were gonna, interview everybody and give them a tour and see how many staff we could get to come into this. We had 0 people show up for this event. So 200 people signed up, but nobody came. So I think that's unfortunate, and it's kind of indicative with what's going on in the world today. If you look at it from that standpoint, I don't know many places that don't have some kind of a help wanted or now hiring or bonuses, or it's everywhere, and it's unfortunate. We recently we've been using this job search group for years, but what we noticed out of them recently was that a lot of the people they were hiring were coming from far away, and most of them weren't staying. We would get them through the academy, and then they'd hit the floor and they weren't there. If we were lucky, 3 months, and then they were leaving. So we broke ties with them. And this went on for about a month and a half, 2 months, where they recently reconnected with us or contacted us and said, hey, we have a pipeline of people that want to come to work for you. If you want to hire, go to work with us again, then we can do that. So we decided we'd try it again because we're just not getting the applications at this point. So we'll look at what we can do. But I think this first group, we're looking at probably 15 people, hopefully by the 28th, that we'll have coming in. That's the plan as we stand here. That group has told us that they have another 40 to 50 people that's interested. So we'll see. If we could get that, then that's huge, of course. But right now, I'm a little skeptical, I guess. I was super excited about the 200, but that got, that put a damper on my spirits, I got to tell you. But we are still doing a lot of recruiting. We have a college event that we're supposed to be going to, I think over in Carthage. We're working on doing some other recruiting in this general area. We just need employees. Of our leadership in the top ranks, we're doing well. We were fully staffed until recently. The chief of security has asked to step down. So we're allowing that, and then we're going to entertain or advertise for that position. But if it wasn't for that one, we would have been completely staffed with the administration. Let's see. In June, and trying to remember if we touched bases on this one on the last one, but I think this may have been right before. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We had the meeting right before this. We had our yearly disaster drill or emergency drill with TDOC, and they contacted the Childsdale County Sheriff's Office, the Emergency Management Office, the Highway Patrol, TDOC K9, and the OIC, Office of Inspector something another. And we ran a drill where we had an escape. The customer was extremely pleased with the way that we responded and all the participation and the way that the drill turned out. So we'll continue working on those, because the only way to be prepared is to practice. So we'll continue working and staying on top of that piece of it. Ms. Oswald, am I missing the medical for the inmates, overdoses, deaths? Did you bring that one? She forgot that one. While she's doing that, does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. Well, that was an unfortunate accident. I think the garbage truck had an issue with lowering the container. And so when he got to the gate, it took out part of the gate. Yes, sir. Yeah, well, for the most part, yeah. I think there's still a little, we're having to wrap it with the chain. The company that's supposed to come in and get it completely working is still waiting on parts, and that seems to be the common answer or common. It really is, my air conditioner at the prison over the conference room went out up in the admin building, and it was almost 3 months before we could get in. Of course, now you don't really need it, but it was almost 3 months waiting on parts before we could even get that air conditioner back up. So it's, that's, I think, the common answer, common.
How hard is this holding up? I mean, 5 years plus into use of things. Are they getting into show issues, or are they holding up?
Everything's really holding up pretty good, and I knock on wood with that. But and to that, you're absolutely right. And that, in that first 5 to 10 years, you have to look at what needs to be replaced and what's going to go out. And of course, we do our preventive maintenances. We recently did an upgrade with our camera system, and again, a lot of that, the technology has surpassed where we were 5, 6 years ago.
So it must be on my desk, but I do remember.
Well, good. I'll let you get up here and talk. But the cameras, we did an upgrade. What else? I think we added some more cameras. We've got that drone detection system. That works really well. I think we went through a little bit of a issue this summer where some of the staff that were monitoring that got promoted and left. So we had to do some retraining and some more hiring. And my investigator, she got promoted and went to Mississippi. Well, she took a lot of that information with her. So we had to do some more training, but that happens, and the fact that, she got promoted is, of course, cause for celebration. Now we just have to retrain and get other investigators in here, and we're working through that process. Well, come on up and tell it.
So the deaths we had, it was 1 COVID related and 4 were accidental.
We've had 5
Since the last meeting.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah. So at September, I think it was the 16th, we locked the facility down for 2 weeks to do a comprehensive search. And intel gathering. We gathered, we got a lot of staff to come in from other facilities. And we had a joint operation with the TDOC, or the Tennessee Department of Corrections, where they sent in investigators and K-9 units. And we did a sweep through the entire facility, trying to get the drugs and cell phones and contraband out. We were pretty successful, but of course, prisons and inmates, that's what they do. They try to beat the system, and they try to figure out ways to continue doing this. And of course, the overdoses, or the accidental or natural deaths, if you will, the overdoses, we hate to see those. So we continue to work on that. And we have a process in place. If an inmate has an overdose, then we go into that housing area, we lock it down. We do a pretty good search, and we also do a medical check of all the other inmates, because we want to make sure that, it's not, if there's just one inmate that got his hands on some drugs, or if there's a group of them that are partying. And so we have medical go through and do visual checks throughout the 24-hour period. We'll just continue working this process, and it's unfortunate. We were able to find 2 staff members that we think were involved in assisting with the introduction of contraband. And so we terminated them. I know one of them, they're pressing charges on at least one of them, working through the law enforcement systems to hopefully press charges on some more. But we'll continue that. I guess I'm kind of at a place where, any questions for me? Yes, sir.
What is your protocol on the vaccination? Do the people have a choice, or what is their
Yes, they do have a choice. It's not a mandatory at this point. We are encouraging it. We've done a lot of town hall meetings with the inmates. We've tried to educate them, show them how the vaccination is available to them, and it's been successful. There are still some people that are holding out. But I think with where we did the first round of vaccination, and, the skeptical inmates can now see that, these guys don't have an arm growing out of their forehead, or, they've not received any kind of negative, medical, then that does seem to help us as well. So at this point, we sent out list and said, sign up if you would like this vaccination, and it's going well. I think there was somewhere around 400, I believe it was 400 inmates that have signed up for this next bout. So that's a good number.
I had a minister contact me here not long ago, and he wanted to know what your protocol was if he knew of an inmate out there who was like with his same group of people. What would he need to do to come and visit, or maybe talk with him? I don't know. I said, I'll ask and see what is told to me.
Yes, sir. I've got 2 chaplains out there. Of course, one of them is Schoenberger, and then the other one is Fletcher. If he will get in touch with either of those, they can help him to set up the visit. And that's not uncommon. We normally do that, especially if there's, if it's a faith that is not one that normally garners a lot of volunteers, then, we certainly want to help anybody come in that wants to. So if they'll get a hold of either of those chaplains, we'll set it up.
You talked a little bit about your not having the amount of people or whatever trying to get jobs out there. Have y'all even tried incentives, or is that something you want to stay away from, or what?
Yes, sir. Man, there's a lot of incentives that we've already done, and there's some more that's on the way. And without giving up a whole bunch of detail, because I don't know a whole bunch of detail, but what I do know, I can tell you that the company is looking at ways to, number one, retain the staff that we have. Number two, we want to reward those staff that are staying and doing all this overtime. And then number three, we want to figure out how we can attract more people. So we started with nurses. They received bonuses. There's an hiring incentives that's out there for them. And then there's also the retention or the piece that if you stay, you get this amount. And so we started with them. We went through that process, and then they focused on the education or program bunch. And they have recently gotten their raises or their bonuses. And then last Friday, I think it was Friday, all of the clerks at our institution got a raise. So we were at, I think it was 1082 starting salary for the clerks, and that went up to 14. So that's a pretty significant raise. That's a $3 raise. So the next piece of it is the correctional staff. And so that's still in the process, but there is a lot of things that we're doing.
I think you mentioned you still needed about 100 officers. The ones that are there now, are they putting in a lot of overtime, or how are you dealing with that?
We are trying to control the amount of overtime by closing some of our mandatory posts. And that's one of the things that we hate. Of course, we hate to see or have to do, but it helps out with the management of the staffing. So like in a building where you might have 3 particular pods, and we would like to staff, say 3 or even 2 of those, we're generally running with just 1 staff. And so that it helps not having to have as many people there, but what it ends up doing is it works that one person that's there a lot harder. So you have to try to balance how we can do that and be fair and still provide a good security for the inmates and the staff. So yes, sir, with that, there's a lot of overtime that's coming and being done, but we're also trying to minimize it as best we can. One of the other things that seems to pop up that kind of affects us is the hospital. So we'll have some inmates that end up going off-site for medical care. And then when that happens, we have at least 2 staff that have to be on that one inmate. So then that puts a strain on what we're having to do, of course, in the prison plus out there. What we've been able to do is the staff that are taking their days off, we've been able to encourage them and utilize them to cover a hospital post. That's not nearly as stressful as, sitting in the prison with 300 inmates. Now they're just responsible for 1. And we've been able to do that through some financial incentives as well. And that seems to help. We recognize, and there's some times where my administrative staff have even worked post. We have to do that to help the staff, but also to make sure that we're covering all the posts.
Commissioners, any of y'all have any questions you'd like to ask Warden Frank while he's here at the podium?
I don't necessarily have a question, more of a statement. I actually work at one of the businesses out there in front of the prison. We've taken, in the last month, as I understand it, many applications. so far, we've had 0 people we've called, and I'm talking about dozens, that will answer the phone or come to an interview. It appears that anybody that wants a job is already working, and there's nobody left that wants a job anymore in this area. And I don't like that, but we're paying $14, $15 an hour, and all we do is sit in a chair, and we can't get anybody to come to work either. So it's not just the prison.
You know, and that's, I've been doing this for 38 years now. And things that are happening today, if you'd have told me 15, 20, 30 years ago, these things exist, there's no way I'd have believed you. This can't be true. It can't be that all these businesses are hurting this badly for employment. It can't be. How is that possible? And then over the years, you've seen time and time again where there were more people wanting jobs than there were jobs, but that's not the case today. We have more jobs than there's people that want to work. And I have never seen that in my lifetime. And it's scary. It's at a position where, you know, how do you combat that? What do we do differently? You know, the incentives. I think the things that, you know, I was recently at a fast food restaurant, and I got my receipt, and I looked at the bottom of it, and it said $100 just for applying. $100 just for applying. You know, how do you combat that? What do you do? How do we fix these things? I don't know. I wish I had the answer. Then me and the mayor could go to Washington, D.C. and, you know, take over this country. We'd be able to run it right, I guess, or run it differently, should I say. But yeah, it's unprecedented.
Anyone else? I want to tell y'all a quick story. This is a story I think I related to you back, I don't know, 2 or 3 meetings ago. But a man came into Hartsville living with his mother, and he'd been in prison, I think 15 years. I'm not sure about that, but I believe it was. He tried to get a job everywhere. I even tried to help him get a job. But the minute they found out that he was a felon, he couldn't get a job. He never did get a job. Well, guess where he is now? He's back in jail. That's the one thing that I see is terribly wrong in this country right now. People make mistakes. Young people, older people, we all, you know, at times make mistakes. But when a person has went to jail and served his time, why does that have to beat him over the head for the rest of his life? I don't know. I don't have the answer, but it seems that's the way it is. Now, there are a few counties in this state that's beginning to do work release. And we talked about that. And I know our sheriff has talked about it a little bit. I hadn't seen any of it being done. But if something ain't changed right there, how can it ever get any better? I don't know. I don't have the answer.
Yeah, and that's I think in the first meeting I came to, that was one of my topics. Of course, was in my opinion, the criminal justice system that we have today is not appropriate. It's not adequate. It's not doing what needs to be done, and that's of course one of the things that I believe as well. These people that are incarcerated, when they get out, they're going to live next door to us. They're going to live next door to our kids. They're going to live next door to our moms. And what have we taught them? What have we done for them to prepare them to go out and be productive? And one of the biggest things that I think I've seen over the years is exactly that piece where they come out and they want a job. You know, we treat them, we give them vocation, we give them GED, we give them a lot of things to help them when they get out. But then when they go down and apply, most of the job applications say, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And if you put yes, then, you know, majority of the time you're not going to be hired until that changes. But we've become such a knee-jerk society. so many times, if you have you know, in the work release programs, you take a group of inmates and put them out there and let them work, and they're earning money, they're paying taxes, they're doing the things that need to be done. They're supporting their family. They're doing those things. And then you'll have one inmate that messes up and does something, commits another crime, does something extremely dangerous. You know, he kills somebody, you know, those things happen. But immediately then, you know, we look at shutting down, or, you know, we get in such an uproar, and we do the knee-jerk reactions. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It is just something that happens. But then you look at it from a standpoint too, if it were my kid or my wife or my mother that was the one that got killed, you know, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be saying, why are you letting these guys out? I don't know. You're right. I don't have the answers either. But I think we need to look at how we can best support this piece of it and still support the general public and the taxpayers and the people that deserve to be supported as well.
Anyone else have any questions for the warden? Anyone? Mayor, you have anything?
No, sir. I will address the work release. We've had 3 different groups, I think, come and look at our jail, and we just don't have adequate space to do a work release. We've had companies contact us that have been willing to move here. We just don't have adequate facilities right now to do that, but that is something we're looking at for the new facilities, to have that kind of programming space in there. And I believe there's actually grant money available to help you put on those programs in place. So that's something we're definitely looking at. And as far as like you were saying, there are some employers now that have taken that felony question off there. Where my wife works, they're gotten to be a lot more forgiving on that previous conviction side of things, unless it's something really major. You know, other than that, they're kind of overlooking it because they're hurting for labor. And right now, economic developers look at what's called the hidden workforce, and part of that hidden workforce is inmate labor and getting training programs and getting them transition. So when they come out, if they had a job, you know, working through those work release programs, they get a job while they're in there, could go out to a manufacturer and then have transitional housing when they come out. They still work there. And down in Gibson County, I think they had their programs they had in place for the participants, the recidivism rate went from 80% down to 8%. So that was a great savings for them as far as not having to incarcerate those people going forward. So those are all things. And as far as making those changes in our criminal justice system, I've been very surprised at the number of not just sheriffs and DAs that are on board with it, but also state legislators. So I think you're going to see some changes going forward in the future to try to do it more as from a rehabilitation while they're in there, instead of just making it punishment, trying to get them so that when they get out, they can be sufficient. And I'll just close with this. When they first did the coding program over there at TTCC, they brought us out there and we went through, and I talked to some of the inmates while they were in the class, and I asked them, you know, do you see this as a real great benefit? And they were just very honest and said, yes. I mean, otherwise we're just going to be sitting here doing nothing. If we come in here, we learn these skills, when we get out, we've got something we can make money for and take care of our families. So if we didn't have this, we get out, what are we going to do? We can't get a job. We're just going to end up right back in here. So they were very appreciative of that program. So I'm glad you have that. And I think that's going to be something you see more widespread in the future.
Dwight, were you in the meeting at Gatlinburg? I think it was 2 years ago. Was it Hamilton County that was doing that?
I think it was Gibson, and had a very successful problem, and I believe it was one of the Grundy or DeKalb, one of the others, their sheriff was very proactive on that, and they had really drastically reduced their local citizens in their local jail.
Well, the thing about that impressed me was when they get to work in the daytime like that, of course, they go back to jail at night, but they get to pay off their fines, help support their families. To me, it's a good thing. Like you said, there may be times when you got to say no to that. I don't know. But once a person's in there for any length of time, especially in a county jail, looks like you would know enough about the character of that man that you would feel like recommending him to someone. And it's, as you said, and as Commissioner said, it's getting where you can't get nobody to do nothing. I just see it down the road as being a tool to help society a lot. Yeah, there may be times when it'll backfire, but the positive times will far outweigh the negative, I do believe. Anything else from anyone? Any other business? I don't know of any.
And a couple of things that came to mind. One, we were scheduled to go through our American Correctional Association Re-Accreditation this week currently, but the ACA could not get enough auditors to even come out here and audit. So they've postponed us. They've tentatively rescheduled us for the end of January. So we're ready for that, but that's just that piece of it, but I appreciate what y'all are doing, and we'll continue to try to hire and do the things that we need to do. And if you got any more questions, just let me know.
We don't have any public, so we won't ask for public comments tonight. I guess we're to the point where I would ask if anybody wants to make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second? David seconded. All in favor say aye. Warden, hope to see you tomorrow at Rotary.